Hello, this is Kevin, the white collar truck driver, and I want to talk a little bit about the day regarding stupid things my liberal friends say on Facebook. So, I was on Facebook earlier today, and I saw a post from a young, middle-aged black woman, and the post mentioned regarding black people and a disparity in wealth between black folks and white folks. Not the income, but the actual wealth, the net worth of black people being about 13 times less than that of white. So I want to talk about that for a moment. First of all, the wealth disparity is not so much about race, but due to the lack of financial education, between the races maybe. But it also has to do a lot with the way that, let's talk about black folks, the way that they, attain wealth or don't attain wealth. So this is what I want to do for the folks listening, is just kind of give you a couple of different tips that's worked for me. First of all, don't blame the white person because you don't have money in the bank. There's a couple of key tricks that you can do. Take you a while if you want to accumulate a lot of wealth. First thing you need to do is this. You need to get an education of some kind. And I'm not talking about a degree necessarily. But you have to do something that is marketable. You have to be able to be of value to either yourself or to someone else. Or you're not going to be employable. Okay? But you need to get a skill, and if you don't have a formal education or a trade school, being a good, solid, dependable worker is a skill, and that's something that gets you employed somewhere. Second, you want to get a job, okay? And not only get a job, but you want to keep the job, so that's going to give you income. Third, now you have an education, you got a job. You have to keep your job. Okay? You got to work gainfully. Fourth, whatever you're earning in your job, you have to spend less. So what I mean is, forget about the rims, forget about the iPhones, forget about the fancy stuff that show off to people who try to pretend that you got money. What you want to do is, you want to get a job, you want to make money, you want to spend less than you make, and you want to do that for as long as you can. You want to do that for all of your working life. If you can do that, then that money that's left over at the end of your paycheck, before the next paycheck comes in, if you can put that aside and toss it aside, then that money's going to stack on top of itself.
Left turn ahead.
Okay? And then what you will have is, you have money in the bank. Now, you have money in the bank. You continue to do that as a way of life. You can segregate some of that money in the bank in a few different ways. Some of that money you can use for personal stuff, vacation, and so forth. Some of the money you can use for, other things that you want, home, car. But a portion of that money you need to set it aside and just keep on setting it aside, keep on setting it aside. And what you're going to end up with is money in the bank. You're going to end up with wealth. You're going to end up with a 401k. You're going to end up with a IRA. Which is an individual retirement account. You're going to end up with some kind of money. That's how the folks do it. Now, a couple other things you want to do. You want to get life insurance. See, life insurance that's what's going to protect you and your family against what happens if you die before you can retire. What happens if you die before, because let's say you make $50,000 a year and your spouse makes $50,000 off, so you make $100,000 a year between the both of you, and you're able to save $10,000 a year. $10,000 isn't money, but if you can do that for 30 or 40 years, that compoundedness of that money that you're making and saving, if you can put that aside and let that grow tax deferred with a 4% return on average per year, you'll end up with quite a lot of money. That's after 30, 40 years of working throughout your working life. Now, you can take anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million in your 401k, and you can live on that when you retire. You can take that money live on the principal and you can live a modest life. And then when you pass away, you can take that money and give it to your kids. That's wealth, and that's how they do it. Now, see, what happens is black folks and poor folks, they don't save a dime. You know, they get a little bit of money, they buy stuff that they need, but they don't save a dime of it. They don't save $20 to $30 a month or whatever, just something. They don't save anything. And so after 20 or 30 years, they have nothing to show for it. They invest in the wrong thing. You don't buy if you cannot save a lot of money, you don't buy a brand new car. It's ridiculous. You buy a brand new car, and the second you take that car off the lot, it's going to eventually depreciate. It's going to be worth 20 or 30% less than what you're paying for it. And then after 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years, when you go to trade it in, it's going to be worth virtually nothing. So why would you want to buy a brand new car? It's ridiculous. You know, buy a house. You know, put your money in the bank. But the thing is, you have to get a job. You got to keep the job. You got to take the money that you're working in the job, and you got to make sure that you're living within your means. You know, if you do that, for the long haul, you'll have it. If you insure yourself, get yourself some life insurance. You know, heaven forbid something happens to you when you're young, and your family's got money to live on. And if you're blessed enough to live a long life, then you will have cash value. You have money in the bank. You do that for 1 or 2 generations, and you'll be fine. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's how you accumulate wealth that helps you out. Have a nice day.